So I did say numerous times over the year that I would show you a setup video of my studio and how I record the YouTube videos, and most specifically my flight simulator setup. That's just a networking cable for, you know, Gripper Sim Crazy Madness networking. So we're going to have a look now at my massively oversized studio in my massively oversized house. So let's just have a quick look here. Oh, that's just my massively oversized chair. I'll just move that out of the way. So here we go. Let's have a look here. Oh! Ah, damn you, chair! First of all, let's have a look and a quick overview of the space I'm using. Now, first of all, the camera footage does appear grainy from this kind of angle. That's because there's not enough lighting in this room. And that's why in movie studios, they have tons and tons of lighting to stop this grainy effect. So there's nothing I can do about that, even if I record in 4K. Now, with regards to the setup, I'm going to talk about, I wanted a modular setup for my flight simulator, and I wanted it to be versatile. Okay, and I'll talk about what that means, at least to me anyway, very shortly. But with regards to the space, I've divided it up into two parts. And this is always a bit of an office. First part here is pretty much the office. So it's got everything you need. It's got computers, it's got plenty of desk space, a nice deep desk, blow heaters, printers, all the stuff you need. Very, very cozy. Also, the next section of the room is where the flight simulator is, as well as some storage to the left and to the right of it. So if I just put you very briefly in the seated position of the flight simulator, you will see it looks quite involved, but it's not so much. Now, I have to say, when I review this footage, it looks very, very messy, but I don't see all the bad cable management at all. Now, the seat here is incredibly comfortable. You can sit here for hours without having to move at all. Much better than a desk setup. And we're going to talk about that now shortly. So that's a very, very quick overview of the space I'm using. So as you can see, you don't need an awful lot of space, really, do you? So let's have a look at why I don't use a desk setup, and I've made all the effort. I think it's only fair that I very, very quickly go over why you newbies don't need all this fancy gear, okay? I started with just a monitor on my computer and a joystick. So all you need to play Flight Simulator, whether it's X-Plane, Microsoft, DCS World, all you need is one of these, a very simple joystick. But there's only one thing to be wary of if you're getting one of these, especially if it's for little Johnny, is that it has to have 3 axes. What I mean by that, you have pitch, roll, and the third is very important. You need to get a joystick with a twisty grip. Okay, I'll just focus in here so you can see it. Focus, focus. Now, see the twisty grip? That is a third axis, which is yaw. Okay, and that controls the rudder in the aircraft in the air and the nose wheel steering on the ground, so you can taxi. Without this, you can't taxi, and that means you have to go with the extra expense possibly of getting another pair of rudder pedals, which you don't want to do. So just make sure it has 3 axes. They all have the correct buttons and switches and everything else. So just make sure it has 3 axes, and that's all I'd say about that. So you don't need all this fancy gear. Now, when I started, this is my joystick. When I started flight simming again, what was it, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and I had my desk set up with my computer and my joystick, and that was fine. I had the keyboard there, everything's fine. Now, later on, I got a control yoke, a Saitek control yoke. They're one of the cheaper ones, but they're fine for beginners, and that's what I had. So you clamp it to your desk along with your throttle quadrant, and that's fine, and you're flying away. But this is my office space, okay? I've got to get it, you know, I've got to clear it all away and put it away again, and plug everything out when I want to use it as an office space. So that's a bit of a pain in the neck, and most people have that set up. Maybe you have a different desk, I don't know, but that was my issue. So I wanted a modular system, meaning I wanted a modular system though, so I could swap stuff out easily. If I built a cockpit for a 172, let's say, and had all the proper instruments and all the wood paneling and all painted and all fancy, that's just one flight simulator. that'd be silly to fly DCS World on that in an F-16 now, wouldn't it? So I wanted something versatile as well as modular, so I can swap stuff out if I need to without having to break stuff up and remove panels. And I can fly in this setup I can fly any genre of flight sim I want, any type: X-Plane, Warbirds, Elite Dangerous, Space Simulator, but mostly this is used for flight simming. So combat, GA, jets, commercial aircraft and helicopters, so all genres, and that's why I built my setup the way I built it. So that's it. So let's have a look at the flight simulator setup that I have here. Now it's actually a racing seat. Okay, the whole platform is the racing seat. It goes all the way down. It has a desktop as well and a stand for the monitor, so that's great. Let's have a look at the seated position. So I'm going to hop in here. It's very easy to get into, and I tell you, this chair is very comfortable. Now, sometimes I noticed when I was on the desk, I would have my feet on the rudder pedals and I'd hit the brakes and you push it back, you know, towards the rear, and the wheels spin you backwards, which is a pain. But this seat is very solid. It's bucket seats, and it's very, very, very comfortable. So I think we'll split this up into parts. Let's start with VR, because VR is coming out from Microsoft Flight Simulator on the 23rd of December this year. So let's have a look at that first. So what do I need? I need VR. VR just sits there. That is the Pimax 4K that I have. Okay, you can look that up. Now, I don't sell, I have links for most of this stuff, because I know you're going to ask me where I get all this stuff. There is links in the description. I only have it for the UK. I'm not really interested in affiliate marketing and all that stuff right now, so just look up Pimax in Google. Now, so VR, brilliant. Now, what's the problem with VR? And I can't use a keyboard, okay? Because I'd be looking inside the sim. So what do I need? I need a Hotas setup. So Hotas means hands on throttle on stick, meaning you don't have to take your eyes away from outside the aircraft, okay? So I have the Thrustmaster Hotas here. Okay, now the beauty about the Hotas, it does take a little bit of practice, but not much. Okay, I know where everything is. I don't have to look. I don't have to look for anything. There's buttons everywhere where my fingers are. And also, you might be wondering, well, what do you use for your joystick? Well, I don't use a flight control column. There is another joystick under here. And this is another Hotas joystick. You can buy these two as a pair. Okay, and it's the best controller I ever bought ever. Also, with this chair, you can get an attachment to attach it to the bottom of the chair. You can see here it's attached to the chair. So that is absolutely brilliant. And if I spin the camera around here, you can see that the joystick is just millimeters above, you know, below the table here. Okay, and it works brilliantly. So hands on throttle and stick. I don't have to look out. All my controls are within these. So that's VR sorted out for me. Happy days. Now, also, I can use the throttle here for collective on an aircraft, on a helicopter. Okay, you can split it into two engines. You can have it attached so the both throttles act as one, etc., etc. So really, really good. If I were to only have one setup, it would be the Hotas. If I couldn't have the yoke, I'd have to have the Hotas and the joystick. So that was one of the first things I actually bought. Now, for commercial flying and for Cessnas and general aviation, let's go with general aviation first. Well, this is a typical control column for a general aviation aircraft. This is the Yoko the Yoke. Okay, now the Yoko the Yoke is quite expensive, and the reason I got the expensive one is because the lower end control columns, at the time when I bought this, you only had low end control columns or very, very high end, and I wanted something that would not do the following. So with the low end, you'd be applying a constant back pressure, right, and then all of a sudden it would skip back a few centimeters and do it again, and it was just sticky, and it was very difficult for flying. So I got Yoko the Yoke, which is quite expensive, and I kind of say to myself, I bought this because I want to practice real flying for IR flight and stuff like this, and which it works very, very well. It makes your flying a whole lot easier. Okay, a whole lot easier if you want to be incredibly accurate, which I want to be. I know it doesn't show in my videos, but in any case, so that's the throttle. So for Cessnas or twin engine light aircraft or jets, it's brilliant. So the next thing is throttle. So I have a TQ6 down here. I have a little light here. I can brighten it up for you. This is a TQ6. and I use this for complex twins or jets. I can put little stickers here and have this for spoilers and for flaps and engine 4 engines if I want, so I can have it set up any way I want. So there you go. It's versatile, okay? And modular, because I can take the set and put something else in. Again, it's attached to the seat. So this is very, very, very handy. So that's that sorted. So what's the next thing that bugged me? Well, let's hop into the aircraft here. Now, I know this is poor quality. It's not 4K exactly, but I want to show you one thing that really bugged me. Let's go to the heading book here. This is a TBM, okay? We're going to the heading book, okay? When I'm flying along, okay, I have to zoom in, or not so much with the heading book, but I've come in here and I have to change the heading. Very, very awkward if the mouse wheel works, you know. Very, very awkward. Now, that's not the problem. The problem is when it's turbulent, it's very, very hard to change any buttons at all, including the radio. Okay, that is a major pain in the neck for me when I'm flight simming. So I have to have smooth air and all that kind of stuff so I can actually operate the buttons, usually from about here. Okay, and it's fine in smooth air on the ground, but not when it's bumpy, and it's usually a little bit bumpy in the air. So how did I fix this issue? Well, guess what I bought? I bought one of these. Let's get my little light here. This is, now they're made by Logitech. I'll have to put the names below them for you because I can't recall, but this is the radio on the top stack here. Now, the beauty about this is I just reach my arm across, change the frequency to what I want it to be, hit the active standby button, there's my active frequency, happy days. So when I'm talking on the radio with FatSim or something like that, I can be quick. I don't have to fiddle with the buttons on the computer, no matter what aircraft it is. This is the best bit of kit, one of the best bit of kit. This is the second bit of kit I bought. Now also, it doesn't just do the radios, it does either COM1, COM2, COM1, nav 1 or 2, so you can switch it over here to which one you want, and they pretty much save, they save everything. COM1, COM2, nav 1, nav 2, ADF, DME, and my transponder for both upper and lower sections. So that's the radio stack. That is absolutely gold dust. The next thing here is I have, now again, I can't remember the name of this one from Logitech, but I'll put it down below and there's a link in the description below. But this is very good for your autopilot. So if I'm using my autopilot and I have the autopilot on, okay, it activates it in the flight sim, by the way. So you see here, corresponds to the flight simulator. So I have my autopilot on and I want heading mode, so it'll follow the heading. Oh, so easy. It's just so easy to twist it. And I can switch to nav mode, switch off heading mode, and have altitude mode, vertical speed mode, etc, etc, etc. So that is really, really handy for autopilot, and you use autopilot a lot in the big jets. And it corresponds to the big jets as well. Again, you can switch to altitude mode, vertical speed mode, indicated airspeed mode, heading mode, and my course bar. Also, you can switch the auto throttle on or off if you're using a jet, but it's usually already on. You can use your flap. I use this for the flaps up, flaps down per section, and you can have a trim here if you want. So this is gold dust. This was gold dust to me. This changed everything. So all of this, guys, you know, adds up over the years, and it just really engrosses you in the flight simulator. It's absolutely super. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the yoke of the yoke a little bit more, very, very briefly. So it's very, very accurate. I know it doesn't look like it in the sim. Let me just adjust it to you. It's just a Microsoft thing. If you're an X-plane, what have I done here? If you're an X-plane, see that? It's actually pretty good. When you're an X-plane, it actually flies perfectly when you're using this, by the way. There's no delay. I know it looks like there's a delay, but there is actually no delay. X-plane does a very good job of this, and so does DCS World. It's just a flight simulator is new, but it's absolutely brilliant. The thing about Yoko the Yoke here, there's not a lot of buttons. There is a push to talk switch here for the radio, and I have a trim switch, nose up, nose down. Nice click. It's nice and firm. I also, if I want to use this for a rudder trim or an aileron trim, I can. And of course, there's another button here, if I so choose, if I can get the camera angle correctly. Another button there for radio or whatever you want to map it to. So that's great. Of course, my keyboard here. You need a keyboard. I'll come back to this later. Bear with me. This is, oh, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. So this is a keyboard. And over across here, I have more Logitech stuff. Again, I can't remember if this is called a control panel or what, but I'll put a little note down below. You can start your engines with this if you're flying a normally aspirated, you know, single engine aircraft. You got both master switches, and you've got avionics switches, fuel pumps, de-ice, pitot heat. This is great because again, you're going to be looking for this stuff. Look if I want to turn on the lights here in the sim. Okay, I've got it. First of all, I'm not looking outside. If I'm flying manually, I'll be in trouble here. I've got to go up here and I've got to switch on the landing lights and play around, and it's bouncing around and it's turbulent, and you're trying to switch things on. Brilliant. I just reach over here, off. You know, on, fuel pump on, and it corresponds to the simulator. Now, I don't know if you could see here. What have we got? The lights, internal lights. So you see here, you know, it just works really, really well. So that is the Saitek there. Now, this bit up here, the instrument, right? This is Saitek as well. Don't buy one of those. I could only get it working in X-Plane, and then even that was for a short amount of time. Don't buy these. I'll put a link down below, or a little note what not to buy. They never seem to work for me. This guy never works, but it's brilliant. It shows you all the different instruments, or your altitude, or your vertical speed indicator, or whatever you want. It didn't work for me. It was a waste of money. Don't buy one of those. I also at one point I think I got this with my Saitek control column. This doesn't work, okay? This doesn't work now. It's made by Logitech now. I don't know if you can get them. It's a Cessna one. It doesn't work. It's a pain in the neck. I can't get it working. If anyone knows how to get this working, let me know. I use the trimmer here on the top, or the trimmer here on my other Saitek. That's fine. And of course, then I've got my other throttle. Now, with all this stuff, okay, you're going to need a lot of these. You're gonna have a lot of USB. I've also got more USB down here, so you're gonna need a few of these if you get some gear. Okay. Now the way I did it, sorry for my fingers there, very unprofessional camera action. When I got all the stuff, you know, I was happy I couldn't buy it all at once, because you get a new bit of gear every now and again, and you add to it, and you get to know everything very intimately, and it's fantastic. Now, also you're going, oh, what's that over there? Why can't you turn that screen? Now, ultimately, I would love to have a 3 monitor stand which is connected to the seat, and I can buy that if I want to, okay? But for the moment, you know, we've got to improvise. What I generally do is when I'm using this as an editing station or an office, I simply move all this stuff. The joystick isn't there anyway. Just move the keyboard over, move the mouse over, television comes over. Oops. Television comes over, okay? And I can just adjust the window to any size I want. So while I'm streaming, or moreover, while I'm looking at Navigraph or my charts, etc. I know that wire's in the way, it's shocking. You know, I can see all my Navigraph charts, etc, etc. So that is the setup. Now, I have to say, it is very much so modular. I can fly any type of aircraft I want, including other simulators, whether it's Elite Dangerous or something like that. So for me, it suits me. So if you're thinking about, you know, a long-term strategy for getting a flight simulator area going, the first thing I got was the chair. It's a racing chair. You get them anywhere. This is a GT Amiga. Just Google it. And that's what I started with. And then I started to clamp everything to it. Well, of course, I had to have a monitor as well. Okay. So that's what I got first. But look, it's up to you. So next up, how do I make my YouTube videos? Okay, so how do I make my videos while I'm sitting here? So first of all, let's talk about the videos where you don't see my face at all. It's just the screen here I want to capture, and my voice and the sound of the simulator, okay? So what I need is, of course, I need a mic. And what I use for my mic is one of these. It's called HyperX mic, I think. Can you see it here? Just in case you're curious. There you go. Now, the sound is quite good. You have to have it reasonably close to your mouth. So usually I have it about here. It's fine. And I can turn it up and down here, or on the next screen, which I'll show you now shortly. So it's very handy. If it's off, the light is off. If it's on, the light is on. Now, I didn't buy I didn't buy the mic because the light goes on and off. No, not at all. That'd just be silly. Yeah, I bought it because the light goes on and off. So, yeah, there you go. That's your HyperX. No, I didn't buy it for the light, but it's USB. It plugs right into the computer and everything else picks it up. So, how do I capture my screen? I use OBS. It's called OBS, and it's over here. I know it's far away. You can't see it, but I'll move it over to this screen here. No, that's Streamlabs. That's what I'm going to show you next. There's OBS here. It's free, okay? OBS, I'm on 260.2. and it's free, and it's very, very good. So I can record on 1080p, or I can record in 4K. As you know, I usually record in 4K. So I can adjust the volumes here of the desktop and my mic, etc., etc. And all I have to do is hit start recording. And when it records, when I stop recording, it saves it onto a disk, which is an external disk on top of my PC. And then what I do when I want to edit that or change it or improve the sound, I move it over to my editing station on the other side of the room. So that's how I record just the footage and my voice. But sometimes I don't always record it with the HyperX here. Okay, I may do a voiceover sometimes with a little bit of a script, because I've got to get my facts right, don't I? So I go over here to the editing station. Over to the editing station, I have another mic here. So I have two of these HyperX mics. Okay. Oh, look at the light. Oh, RBG. Or whatever it's called. So over here I have I use an Apple, okay, and this is Apple's Final Cut Pro, costs about $200 or $300, okay. Now I'm going to say one thing to you here, and I'm going to be bitching a little bit. Apple are dodgy. They're very, very dodgy, and this happened to me, okay. I bought an Apple years ago, and all of a sudden, it was a year and a half ago, this screen just went blank. So I took it to the Apple shop where I bought it, and they said, oh, we can't repair it, it'll cost you the same price as a new computer. So I went, what? Because it's all one unit. So I was furious. So I had to get going again. I wanted to get my YouTube going again. So I got another one. I was very lucky to get another one. And weeks later, I discovered that Apple are ripping us all off. Because it's one unit, okay? And what happens, there's a website, I'll show you a link here, Ross something, or I can't remember his name, he's a nice guy. He has a repair shop in New York. He can repair these in New York for $50 if the screen goes blank. And usually it's a soldering issue. He just opens it up and solders it back, okay? I won't go bore you to death with the details, but the problem with Apple is if this breaks on me, I'm done. So it's just too much of a risk to have an Apple. Okay, because once it's gone for weeks and weeks. Whereas if I use a PC for my editing, I can just swap out parts. If the screen goes blank, I replace the screen. If the power supply goes bust, I just replace the power supply. PCs are much more reliable now than Apple Macs, and I'm really furious with Apple. In fact, I'm going to dump Apple altogether. But look, I'm not going to bore you to tears with that. Just look it up, have a look. Just you might save yourself an awful lot of bother. So I'm going off Apple. Anyway, I have to say their Final Cut Pro program is absolutely brilliant, and it's going to gut me to move over to something else because this only works on Apple Macs. So anyway, this is Final Cut Pro. This is a video I did earlier on. I won't bore you to how it's edited, but it's quite straightforward. For real flight, obviously, although I am a flight instructor for over a quarter of a century by now. So you can see that the bar moves across here, and I can cut and paste, put all my graphics in. There's a little bit involved, you know, per video. It takes a long time to produce a video on YouTube. It takes an awful lot of time. So that's how I record the actual footage of the flight simulator, okay? Now, how do I get if I want my picture and the lower, I think it's the left-hand side of the screen I have my picture. Well, I don't want the background in the picture. I just want my outline in the chair. That's why I have the green screen there, okay? Because that will clear out any background, and I can replace that background with either nothing, so it's transparent to the flight simulator, or I can have some fancy crazy background in the back of it. Why do I have these two key lights? These are called key lights, okay? Rather a bit expensive. But look, if you're going to do it, you may as well do it right. These key lights are very important, because if I don't have lighting on my person, the background won't work. Okay, you'll see the green popping through. And even if I didn't use this, I would appear very dull and very, like in very dark lighting when I record my face for Flight Simulator. So that's why I have those. And I think that's about it, except for the streaming. I use OBS Streamlabs. It works very well. So for example, I know I can use it for both. So that's OBS there. I'll just minimize that. And here's Streamlabs. So when I'm only starting to stream. So this is Streamlabs. So for example, in the beginning of the intro scene, I have that there. So, and all I have to do is hit the live button here, and then I'm live on Twitch. So that's how that's done. I can use this for recording as well sometimes, but I prefer the other one because I got it set up correctly. And I usually have this on the other students. So you can see people have followed here, and I can see what they're commenting on and all that kind of stuff, and type in messages myself when people are interacting with the channel. And I usually have that over here, the other screen, so I can see what's going on and see what people are saying. So there you go. So between all those bits and pieces, oh, you're probably wondering how I record my face. I almost left that bit out. This is a Logitech Brio. It will record in 4K, but I use it for 1080p because you can't record 4K on streaming, but I use 4K for obviously my usual YouTube videos. So that sits at the top of the monitor there. So there's a lot going on, I suppose. Oh, I forgot. This here is called a Stream Deck, okay? Now, what I bought this for, when I'm doing my videos, okay, I made this button here. It's very straightforward. I'm gonna hit this button, okay, and this is what this is actually supposed to be for. I'm gonna move the screen over here. So here's my stream, okay, and if I hit this button here, it brings up. See the way it says Gripper Sim and it has graphics. So that's what this, you know, this will run macros if you like, okay. Sorry, the Stream Deck here will run macros, okay, and that's great and fine. I haven't really gotten involved in it yet because I only just got it. But here's a secret for you. And my flight simulator here, I have discovered, and nobody really talks about this in flight simming, you know, this is a box of buttons for your flight simulator as well. You can configure any of these buttons for any control in the flight simulator whatsoever. For example, I have one set up here. I have flights. I can change the color of the button. I hope it's focusing. I can change the color of the button, what it says on the button, etc., etc. So if I hit flight sim views, it opens up another page, and I can hit drone view. Watch this. I haven't activated the screen. Sorry. So I hit drone view here. See that? Drone view and back again. So you can configure this box of buttons for anything you want in any game or any flight simulator. So I'm going to make a video of this one day. Okay, just haven't had time to really get involved with it yet. So that's a little tip for you. So that's pretty much everything. There's obviously a sound. I have sound bar down here for sound for myself when I'm playing on my own. I talked about the VR. I also have an Xbox controller here. That is for controlling the views for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that's pretty much... Oh, I nearly stubbed my foot again. Okay, I'm just really talking nonsense from here on out, but what I would like to do is I would like to thank all the viewers and the subscribers. If you view this channel quite often and you haven't subscribed yet, you should know when you subscribe to a channel, you really, really seriously help it out by hitting that button. I would never have bought all this gear unless I had all these subscribers. Also, I would like to thank the members very much, and our newest member, Nick Hare, who subscribed this month, even when I wasn't producing anything. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you soon on the Reaction Review.